All right, guys, welcome to JL99. One more episode till the big 100. How exciting is that? Today we're doing using gilding to enhance your artwork, which, let's just say, even if you have absolutely no interest in ever actually incorporating this into your artwork, you're probably still going to enjoy it because we all like shiny things. I think we've all here at Jerry's, other than perhaps Will, have decided that we do like, you know, some nice metallic shines and some kind of sparkle, and this is going to be jam-packed full of it. So much so I kind of like hid things on the set here because I don't want it to dazzle you all at once. You have to wait for it. So we're going to be talking about gilding today. The art of gilding goes back all the way to the Egyptians. They were always enhancing things that went in the tombs, hieroglyphics sometimes, the pharaohs, kind of the statues that you see, you know, things like that. Those weren't actually straight up metal. Hey, Will.
Hey, Amy. I'm here to talk about photographing your art, part 2, right? That's what we're doing today?
No, we're not. This is your favorite thing in the world. This is gilding.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, come on.
No.
Come on. No. It's way easier than you think. He still apparently is having nightmares about that. But we'll be back next week for the 100th episode as one of the guests with Ophelia, and there's a rumor. It's not been confirmed yet, but that we might have Mike, not Jerry, on with us, and just be doing a zany, fun, like, project that's going to be timed and moved around and skipped and have to answer goofy questions, and it should just be a whole bunch of fun. So will be back next week, and we won't include gold to kind of keep him from running away yet again. All right, so the Egyptians, back to the Egyptians, statues, amulets. If you've ever been to a museum and been through the Egyptian section, anything you see kind of in their little statues and stuff, likely those are gilded, and that's actually what's causing that metallic sheen. The Romans were really big on medallions and pendants, and those were actually done with gilding. Those weren't, unless they were like coins or things like that, they were actually gilded, and it was really, really popular back kind of in the Byzantine and Roman era to actually have portraiture of yourself done, if you were wealthy, with gilding, which seems like a really strange way to get a portrait done, doesn't it, Katie? But I saw some really cool photo examples, but none of them were like high res enough to actually show under the camera. So, so you
gold
can.
leaf is so hard to show in images
Yes.
without actually seeing it.
Oh yeah.
So much prettier. And
yeah, but in thinking about that, if you've seen anything like that that looks like it's from that era, if they're wearing little leaves on their head and a kind of a crown-like thing, probably that was gilding. Medieval Christian iconography. Say that 3 times fast.
Wow, right?
That's kind of where my love of an interest of gilding came in with the medieval art history class in college. All of the illuminated manuscripts are either gilded or have kind of like the little shell tablets where they actually made their own kind of watercolor type tempera paint with gold dust. Just kind of that gilding added to it embodied the richness of the religious nature of the artwork. If you've ever been through kind of that medieval section of the museum, before you get to the Renaissance, now they were really big into things being the natural world, no gilding there, but you see a lot of the, you know, the fancier frames, I guess. That's where you still see that in that type of artwork is in those frames, right? Okay, Japan, 16th and 17th centuries. If you've ever seen the really cool panels where maybe there's some cranes and trees and there's some gold in there, that's done with gilding as well. And then up to modern times, who's the artist that everybody thinks of when you think of gilding? The Kiss. Who did The Kiss? Not Rodin's Kiss, huh? Gustav Klimt, yes. Used gilding in all sorts of his different paintings. Those are some of my favorite things and something that I would really like to aspire to adding in my own artwork. How, I'm not sure yet. But now that I've researched the gilding, Katie, it's coming. I feel it.
Inspiration is hit.
Feel the shine, yes. The glow. So we're going to show you kind of just, it's really way easier than you think. It doesn't take as many crazy supplies. You're not going to need those solvents with the adhesive and stuff like that. They make great water-based ones now. And it's not as delicate and terrifying as when Will got the gold all over him in our episode with the most expensive things. So gold leaf, how is it made? Do you know that they actually beat the metal to get it that super flat surface? It's hammered into fine sheets. It's actually called gold beating. Ironically enough, my garage band in high school. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't sound like a garage band type of a name. So it's just hammered out super duper thin, and then you can get it. You don't have to do that yourself. You get it in these great little sturdy packets that protect it in shipping, and then you go from there. So are we ready to kind of see what this is like? Okay, so we're going to be using what are called loose leaf sheets today. I'm just going to grab one of the packets out of here. Loose leaf sheets means that it's just made out of a little book. It's got, if you can turn the top camera here, Katie, I think it'll be easier to see because if I stand this up on edge, it's going to go flying out.
Got that side one on so you can show.
Okay,
point to
perfect.
It should be a little easier.
Okay, so this is just a loose leaf of imitation gold. If I pull that kind of back, you can see it's just kind of tucked in there, like a book that's just not bound. The page is just kind of crammed in there so that you can actually, with static or with just a little bit of moisture, pick that up with a brush and actually lay it down where you need to, where you need to place that.
It's so pretty.
Pages, the books are usually 25 to 100 sheets. Sometimes if you get the really expensive ones, it may only come in 10 sheets, but you're talking like 24 karat gold and stuff like that. You remove them with these Gilder's tip brushes. They're brushes that are designed specifically to work with a little bit of static, and they'll actually pick it up and then you can move it and place it on your artwork. These seem kind of weird and flimsy until you've used them. They're ideal for what you need them for. It's only for just creating that little bit of goofy static and picking that sheet up. Now, there's a type of leaf called patent or transfer leaf. We're not going to be using that. That's actually a type of leaf that's got, with that piece of gold, there's actually thin tissue kind of pre-stuck to it. What that does is it's for people that do outdoor gilding, which I know that sounds really weird. If you've ever been anywhere where they're doing restoration on like a Capitol building or something like that where they've got gold on the outside, they're actually doing the gilding up there with that special sizing and doing it right there. That keeps it on the leaf. You can put it down, you can burnish the back, pull the tissue up, and it's not blowing away in the wind.
Like how the vinyl transfer sticker.
Yes. Yeah, oh, very much. Yeah, like, well, when you put the sticker in the back of your car, when you get, something like that, a vinyl sticker, same kind of idea and thought to it, just a little less sticky. And then we've got something else that's really cool that we're going to show in a little bit. That's called variegated leaf. All that is a type of leaf that's been actually a composite leaf that's been taken and through the magic of heat. I don't want to disturb it. Pulled some out with doing samples. See how pretty that is? It's just this lovely kind of multicolor from the heat of the sheet. It's almost kind of like when you see the oil drops in water, gasoline drops, and it's what makes that pretty rainbow. It's like that, but less toxic.
My brain went to a marbled sheet cake.
Oh, that doesn't sound that bad. So,
That about made my stomach grow.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, Yvonne sent a recipe or a link to recipes for keto cake for next week, so you might get surprised. Just saying. All right, so we are going to be starting with basic supplies. You can use anything to gild on. I'm going to use the Da Vinci Ultra Smooth Just-Sewed panels. They just have a cradle, so it's more durable. It's like much faster learning curve if you're doing it on a hard surface, in my opinion. Plus, if you're going to be adding and like paint and other layers on top of the gold, which is perfectly fine, and I'll explain to you how to do that. how to seal that to be able to then work on it, the panel is your best bet. You can still do canvas, you can still do other stuff. It's just going to be kind of in ease and kind of easing yourself into it. I think it would probably be better to actually use some of the panels like this. We're going to, and another thing that I thought of, I actually tried gilding the sides just out of curiosity. I would recommend, if you're going to do that you sand them so that they're kind of baby butt smooth, and then you seal them with a product like our GAC 100 that Golden makes, that seals the wood and keeps any of the kind of resins and stuff from rising to the surface. It'll just make it so that it bonds better, because it was a little hard to, even though the adhesive kind of soaked into the wood, it was a little hard to get it to bond super well with that texture of the grain of the wood on the side. So good to recommend. And the Ultra Smooth, any other panels, there's some panels that have texture. Keep in mind if there's any texture under your gold, because it's that just wafer thin sheet, it is going to pick that up. So the smoother your surface, the more even and flat your gold is going to lay. All right, so adhesive brush, we're going to use just a regular glazing brush that's a natural hair, because I think it offers a little bit kind of smoother release of the glue. I've got, and that's just one of the Creative Mark glazing brushes. Burnishing brushes, it's good to have something that's firmer than that, just because you're going to want to kind of push that metal down onto that sizing and get a really good bond to it. I've got, what I was using at home was actually a mongoose brush, so I found one that's even bigger and fluffier here, but it's still pretty firm, but it's a filbert, so you can really push and kind of move that in. And then I got a hog foliage brush that's one of the angular ones by Creative Mark, for if you've got a textured surface and you really need to work that gold down in there, that's going to be firmer and give you kind of that firmer support of pushing it down, but not damage that. So it's the Vermeer brush in the angular. All right. Then you could also use cotton balls. It'd just be slower, kind of sitting there pushing. What? Just
I
like,
didn't think about that.
yeah, cotton balls or even a soft cloth. But then it's only as wide as your finger is, and that can start kind of, if you're doing a large surface, that gets numb faster. You can just really kind of scrub with a brush much easier. So, all right. I mean, where that would be helpful is maybe if you were doing like a three-dimensional thing, gilding like a wood candlesticks or something, and you wanted to make them look like metal. That might be a little bit easier. All right, and then the Gilder's Tip brushes are ones that we've got here. The New York Central brushes that we've got at Jerry's. There's virtually any size you need, from teeny tiny to these 4-inch ones. There's synthetic. There's also natural hair. And there's single and double thicknesses. And what that is just kind of the thickness of that hair that's stacked in there. Both work really well. I actually prefer the synthetic brushes. I think if you get a lot of gold crumbs in it, it's a little harder, Katie, to get out on the synthetic, I noticed. Yeah. But they got staticky much faster because of the way the material is, which I was surprised. I figured natural hair would
gold faster a little bit too.
Huh?
Maybe why it hangs on to the gold.
It probably so, because at one point I was yelling in the studio, "Get out!" and like smacking it on everything, trying to get the gold crumbs out. So
it's definitely nice to have multiples.
Yes, but I really like the 4-inch brush because if you're using these larger sheets that are the 5.5 by 5.5, it holds most of that width. If you've got a smaller one, it'll start crinkling and curling around, and it can bend and twist, and it won't be flat when you go to put it on your surface. So that's why I'm going to be using those today. I did not feel a difference between I mean, if I really did gilding like hardcore, I'd be like, oh, the double thick, I don't la-di-da, but to me, both of them work just as easy, and probably that single fill's a little, if anybody does gilding and you know if there's really a huge benefit to that, or if it's for specific leaves, maybe it's firmer for lifting up real, precious metals, maybe it holds it better. I don't know. I know you need a lot less static for the precious metals. They like jump on things. So, all right. With the leaf, we've got composite leaf, we've got the imitation leaf, which composite just means that it's made of other metals to look like that precious metal. And then we've actually got some genuine gold, and we've got a moon gold, which we'll talk about kind of when we get to that. The water-based adhesive, I'm using the Speedball's Mona Lisa water-based adhesive, and they also come, for those that letter Amanda, come in an adhesive pen so that you can do some smaller, even drawing with it on something. If you've got an acrylic painting already, you could draw with the adhesive on there and then gild over it. You could get some really cool fine lines, outlines, little halos, all sorts of cool stuff. So, and this is just a giant can of it, which I thought you would need a lot more. You actually don't need that much at all. This was my little jar from home, and I think we were out of jars when I ordered it for the show, so I just got a big one. Only maybe a third of the way through, and I gilded a whole bunch of things.
Little goes a long way with that.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised. All right. They also make spray adhesives. We don't have them. That's probably going to be, I would think that would be more your solvent-based, being in a spray. You know?
Yeah.
But
I thought we had them.
I don't think so for that. So, all right. Soap and water. You definitely want soap and water because the adhesive, although it's water-based, is still pretty sticky, which is good because it makes your leaf stick, but it's not good in that it gets on you if you're messy like moi, and you really want to wash it out of the brush. So just even like the Chelsea bar soaps would be perfect for that. Now, you always want to seal your leaf because especially, you know, regular gold is not going to tarnish and things like that from the atmospheric stuff. All of the composite ones will start to discolor because you've got things like aluminum in it and stuff like that. So you're going to want to actually seal it. In the books that I have read, which I bought myself Speedball's Gilded Style book. You can gild lots of stuff. Look, there's a big fancy candlestick, Amanda. You could write, gild it, and then write on it. And then this book is just beautiful. Just looking at it, and it comes in like a workbook layout. This was one I got off Amazon. It's by Nancy Rayner. It's Acrylic Illuminations, Reflective and Luminous Acrylic Painting Techniques. Now, don't be fooled. It is not just, it does not say gilding on here. It's got a lot of information on gilding and how to use it in fine art applications. There's a lot of acrylic techniques in here. A lot of cool acrylic techniques I did not even know about. And then there's some with gild. She teaches you how to gild and then teaches you how to paint over gilding, how to work with gilding, how to glaze on gilding, all sorts of really cool stuff. So this was a really cool book, and there's 50 techniques in it. So that was a bargain. But she recommends that you use an MSA varnish, which is going to be your mineral spirits varnish. It's acrylic, but it also has mineral spirits in it. That seals way tighter than just a regular acrylic polymer varnish. So it's flatter, it's harder, it's a better seal. So you're going to want to seal your gilded surface regardless of what you're doing on it. If you're going to then paint with like acrylics or oils over it, you're actually going to add a coat or two of an acrylic polymer. And she goes into it with that. And maybe that's something that we can talk about in a future episode. We're just not going to have time for it today, where she actually pours a little on and uses kind of a card to kind of scree it out and make it super thin and flat so that it levels and it really covers everything. Then your acrylic painting is kind of, or oil or whatever you're going to be doing is based on that. So it's the MSA varnish has sealed that. Then you've got a surface that's bound to it that then you can work from. Okay. So golden makes the, and you'd want to use gloss obviously because it's a metal, right? And you want it to still be shiny. So they make a spray MSA varnish, and they also make one that you can paint on. So you've got both of those options. All right. So, all right. So if we can cut to the top or side camera, whichever your heart desires, Katie. Now you're going to want to put some sort of underpainting on this, all right? Because gold is delicate, or even the imitation leaf is delicate, and you might have some areas where a little bit before you seal it gets roughed up and a little bit flakes off. You want some other color under there to kind of be able to shine through. They traditionally would use like a red oxide, that kind of reddish brown, like a burn umber. If you've ever seen gilded frames, you see that in a lot of edges that are old. That frame in my office, that was my great-grandfather's frame with the oil painting in it. That you can see was hand gilded on plaster. So nobody says that you have to use the red oxide. I tried blues and things like that, cool colors with the aluminum, because I thought that would be cooler since that aluminum is cooler. And then I used warm colors like a cad red, and I think I used burnt sienna under the golds that were warmer. So you're going to need to actually do that first, so you've got that through there, and then it's going to give you a nice bond with your adhesive as well. So this one's been done. This is just ultramarine blue. You want that to be dried, and you want it to cure, right? You just don't want to put it on and then an hour later be sticking your adhesive on it. You want it to maybe set overnight, and you want it to be a nice thin coat so that it doesn't take longer. Because I did a couple with gel. Thankfully, I dumped them near the end of the last weekend because it took like 3 days with the humidity, with the rain and stuff that we had, to like cure enough to be able to put the adhesive on it. So you can do texture in it, you can do whatever before you put that on. So I've got examples of texture. We'll do some gilding on texture in a few minutes. All right, so we're gonna take our adhesive and we'll show you how easy that is to do. My little Dixie cup. These jars are cute and adorable, but sadly they're small, so it's hard to get a brush in them. You're going to want to stir them first, all right? Big can says shake. Always a fan of the stirring instead of the shaking because that gets air bubbles in, and you might get air bubbles in your...
I did have that problem before when I shook the little one and the air bubbles, because it's so gluey.
Yes.
They don't pop quickly.
No, they don't. And it might be the big one is bigger, so it's not as big of a deal, where the little one really gets...
Yeah, that's true. You can work around it a little bit better.
Okay, you need just very little, so I'm going to take that off there, and I'm actually going to wipe the edge because it's starting to get kind of gooky, and I don't want to have problems. Get it back off later on. All right, so I've got my glazing brush. Now, I found the easiest thing to do with all these ones that I did was I put kind of, just like gesso, if you apply it on the side, I'm not going to leave that like super white like that. If you apply it on the side, it's going to pull across with less texture. The first kind of pass I'm going to do is just to make sure I'm getting enough of it everywhere, okay? You can see I've gotten all the edges, right? It's kind of nice and wet the whole way around. I need to move over here for that camera. All right, then I'm going to take it and go across it, across the grain where I just did that, just in hopes of pulling up any excess, any air bubbles. Because if you make this texture too pronounced, even with the adhesive, you'll have a slight amount of texture in your gilding, which it doesn't show as much in like the composites and stuff. But man, I think one of the gold ones, we'll have to look at it. I think you can see actually the brush texture from the sizing. So I'm just gonna pull it across one more time in kind of the opposite direction. It actually looks pretty good. That's nice and thin. See how I can't really see a lot of the kind of white cloudiness anymore? Okay, so that's nice and thin. It's coated really well with kind of going across it multiple times. It looks good. I'm going to set that to the side. So that's all you have to do, literally, to apply sizing. Super duper easy. Right. Let me rinse this out real quick.
While you're doing that, can you paint over gilding?
Yes, you can. That's what, when I was just talking about the sizing, like putting the MSA varnish over it, you're prepping it to actually paint over it. You would do the MSA acrylic mineral spirits based varnish, then you would put those 2 coats, 1 to 2 coats of an acrylic polymer medium on top of it and let it cure really well. Then you can start painting, because then you've put your kind of bonded your coats.
Right. And with that, you could do acrylic or oil, correct?
Yes. And to me, as long as you, if you're trying to just seal it, I don't know why you couldn't put one polymer coat and even put like a clear gesso if you're going to do oil, just to get that little bit tighter bond. It just might make it not as shiny. It might make it a little cloudier because the gesso's got those kind of inert colorless pigments in it to absorb, right? The silicas and things like that. All right. So are we ready to actually see what this looks like? Okay, and a dry time with this stuff, the big jar actually said an hour, which is the same thing. When completely clear, 60 minutes, apply metal leaf. That's gonna really depend. If you're somewhere humid, it might take that long. The little jar said up to 30 minutes and then go. So I just like looked at it at 30 minutes and thought it stays openly tacky for a good while. Like, from what they say on their website, up to a day. I wouldn't go that long. I would maybe go, I was going about 45 minutes the first time, and I thought, that looks really dry. That's not going to work. It worked fine. The next time I went to an hour to see. The next time I cut it closer to 35 minutes. Each time it performed pretty similarly. So that shouldn't really necessarily be an issue. All right, so I've got this little one. That's the burnt sienna block. I've already got the adhesive on there. Okay. Should we just do some of this Gild Gold since I've got it here? What do you think?
Yes, do it.
Well, I've got like a real gold too, if we wanted to get really tricky. All right. Okay, so I would recommend having this pretty close to where you're actually going to be doing your work, so that you're not trying to lift the page and go a long way away. Now this stuff I did notice is heavier, so it did not seem like it wanted to pick up as easy. I already bumped it so you could see it wrinkle. Now, there's different schools of thought. Just rubbing this on your forearm is enough to charge it, for most people to say that. Some people put a little petroleum jelly on there so it gets some moisture and then slowly drag it across the arm. I can feel the back of my hair starting to tingle, so I'm guessing it's probably charged enough. But again, this particular imitation gold leaf, it seems like it doesn't pick up as easy. Now see, can you see that picked up? Can you see it from the side camera, Katie? That was just rubbing it on my arm. And I placed it on the leaf and that picked up. So I'm just going to drag it over and carefully drop it. You don't want to use this brush for doing your burnishing, okay? Because it's just not...
Hold the brush so that the bristles are aiming at the camera, because some of the static electricity
you can see it, yeah.
But you could see that the bristles were starting to...
You can see it
splay.
still, it's all fuzzed up. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
It's like crazy. And my hair is doing that on the back of my head, because I'm like one of those people that can shock anybody anytime. All right, so I'm going to take this brush and I'm just going to put it down and slowly kind of work out from the center. It's going to get a little bit of wrinkles and crinkles on it. To me, that's what makes it look really authentic and kind of old world. I'm sure it's something with enough practice you can minimize that if you don't like it as much. No, I kind of like it though.
The paint layers that you put on, the blue and the burnt sienna there, are they acrylic paints that you put on?
They're acrylics. You're gonna, because this is a water-based sizing, you're gonna need to make sure that those are acrylic. Okay, because you don't want to put oil down, then put a water-based sizing on it. It may not bond well with your oil. It might not bond at all. You never know. It might be fine and might not ever be a problem, but you might as well just work with the acrylic to acrylic. Okay, can you guys see how that's kind of pushed down over the edges and everything? Now I can see a couple places here. I'm going to put it up to the camera. Can you see a couple of those little places where there's a little bit of red showing through?
Mm-hmm.
Just barely, right? Those are little bits where it's cracked and little pieces come off with it. So we can do one or two things. We can leave it like that, which I don't mind it, or as we start to kind of take this excess off, we can take some little crumbs and kind of push it on there into that sizing. So I'm going to just tear off a bit with my finger, pushing it down. I'm going to kind of crumple it into there and see if it kind of... That's cool. A little bit's popping off and sticking in the spot. It depends on how big the hole is. If If it's pretty big where the kind of that piece is missing, it's going to stick pretty well. If it's small, it might not have kind of enough of adhesive showing through. But you can see how delicate that is, that little bit of kind of pouncing on it. Broke that up. All right. So what I found, actually, and I didn't put this on the list because I didn't think about it until we were getting ready to film, was it was really easy to take just a palette knife and kind of scrape the edge. What I did is scraped it first like this, and then I took it at kind of an edge and scraped kind of an angle like this off, okay? So first straight, where it's removing kind of the majority of it, and then at an angle, kind of cleaning that edge of those little pieces that kind of stick.
And are you making sure to do it in such a way that you can save your little crumb pieces?
You can, they're going to immediately just fall down and turn into kind of a mess. You can save those and you can use them for other techniques where you can just put those little kind of crumbs and pieces on there. Since I don't have anything else, the bigger piece isn't really going to help me. You know, if I had bigger holes or I was doing a really big piece, I would try to keep that as flat as possible to reuse it. But there's no point. What I did at home was I just took a Ziploc baggie and kind of a larger one and kind of slid them all into it, so it's got a whole sorts of colors of stuff in there now, and I'll just do something with it down the road.
I bet they'd be great in resin or in pouring.
Or just putting sizing on something and smashing the crap out of all the colors would be kind of cool. All right, so now I'm just taking that brush and I'm going back over it, and I'm working on those edges to get the last of kind of those crumbs off. Actually, I'm going to get this angular one. Since that's a little stiffer. All right. See? That's pretty nice and shiny, isn't it?
It's so pretty.
And that's an imitation gold leaf. To me, that looks, I wouldn't know, looks pretty darn real. Isn't that nice? You can kind of see the little bit of crinkling, but to me that looks very much like some of the Giotto paintings and stuff like that at the North Carolina Museum of Art, where it's gilded right up to the character in it. All right. So that's our imitation gold leaf. All right, so let's take a look, since we've just done that, at some of these different leaves, because there was a whole bunch of leaves on the sheet. I wanted everybody to see kind of what they could get out of it, that it's not just plain boring gold where it looks the same. And some of the golds are very different too. I'm going to kind of slide that over so we don't have a problem with other stuff that we'll gild in a minute. All right, let me find my list so I make sure we go through it. All right, so we'll start with this. This is composition aluminum leaf, so it's made to look like silver, which it does. Can everybody see how pretty that is? And that's just a composition silver leaf. Okay, I'm just gonna stick these right here as we go. All right, copper. Katie, look.
It's my favorite.
Patty. Look at this. This is a composition leaf too, which again, that means it's not the real thing. This isn't real copper, but man, it sure looks like it, doesn't it? Isn't that beautiful? So we got copper. The next one is composition gold, not the same thing as that imitation gold leaf. It's actually, you can see there's a slight difference in the two. This one's a little bit more orange to me. Of course, they're shiny. Okay, there we go.
Like, well, they both look white right now.
Yeah, this one is slightly more orange to me. But it really, if you've got them close together, you can really tell. All right, I'm going to line these up so you can see them from the above camera as well afterwards, so you can see all the cool colors. All of the colors. All right, now this is the variegated leaf, which means that it's been heated up. It's a composite leaf that's been heated up. This is the green shade. It's got little bits of green in it. Actually, at the different angles, you can see the green better. I don't know if you can see it actually. Oh yeah, no, that looks way greener than for me. But see how pretty the color is on that? Just almost looks like a little bit of a sunshine or something, or a sunflower. All right, the black sheet. This is the black shade. To me, it's got some nice violets in it. Look at that.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that beautiful? I got a painting in mind already when this leaf's name is all over it. Just with that beautiful violet in it. Now here is a blue shade. This thing pops. Look how nice that is.
I think that's my favorite.
Isn't that beautiful? It's just really, really pretty. Look at that. Oh, there we go. Nice. All right. Then the red shade. Frida, you thought you liked the blue. Look at this one.
The red's really pretty.
Yeah, that is. Now, this was the one that I kind of boogered the most. It was one of the first ones I tried. Well, but okay, so it got a bend in the leaf right here. You can barely tell there's a bend right here. Even with the patterning, you really can't. If you don't see me pointing it out to you, you probably wouldn't notice it. Isn't that cool?
It's also nice too, because if you know what, like, you practice with it and stuff, you can use
Yes.
it to your advantage to get some really cool
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
textures and shapes. And
All right, here is the imitation silver leaf.
so shiny.
Yeah. And that's the Gild Gold, so it's a different brand.
I want an entire wall in my bedroom to be done with that.
The silver.
I've seen I want to say it was like Trading Spaces or something like that, where they did the entire ceiling
Oh, whoa.
of the bedroom, like a tray
That's
ceiling.
cool.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's so pretty.
All right, here was the one that we just did. So that's the Gild Gold. That was the one that I did for it. Oops, back towards this way.
There we go.
All right. Then here is, we're getting into the real gold. This is Gild Gold's tiny little package. 23.5 karat genuine gold. Now, this is smaller, obviously, than that, so I actually had to kind of put it together, break it up. You really can't tell where that seam is, can you? Took some creative kind of pouncing with the brush. So that's actual gold. See how this is a little less shiny, maybe a little bit more matte? This
More
being the
velvety.
natural one? Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very much more velvety. Okay. Then here is moon gold. Now moon gold is made out, it's 21 karat gold, palladium, and silver.
I love that one.
So it has almost
my new
kind of
favorite.
a, this is the one that Will got all over that show. And let me tell you, I actually texted him when I was doing this one, and I was like, it jumped out at me, like right on the first thing was all crumpled up. So it was totally not Will, it was just, the sheet's so freaking light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that littlest bit, just opening it, like the air, and it just went, poof, the first sheet. Yeah, so, all right. So those are our, two of them are the same, obviously, these two. But look at what a nice little kind of array of stuff that makes. Woo, so pretty.
I like that shot.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Now, okay, so when I was working on this, I was like, you know how cool it would be to take this and drill dowels in between these and do them in different angles, like a different setup than this, Frida? Join them with dowels and make it one big hanging, but all these little things with a little space in between them, and then paint things on them individually.
I'm seeing a headboard.
Oh, okay, that's not what I'm saying.
know.
Okay. Well, I'll have to do that later and then show people because I've got plans for it. All right, cool. Do we have any questions so far? I'm going to start gilding a couple other things. I'm going to show you one more thing while people get questions to you if you have them. Okay, so it was saying that you could take texture and let it dry and then go over it. This is the black shade one that you liked, Frida?
No, I like the blue.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, sorry. All right. Well, okay, so some of the rest of you liked this one. This is actually just like a paste, an acrylic paste applied with a palette knife, let it dry and cure for a couple days, and then this is actually gilded right over it. So how cool is that? Now, what would be cooler is if you took this as a solid metal and then you actually did acrylic glazing and then wiped off right before it got dry, wiped the higher parts off so the glazing would fit down kind of in the cracks. That would be really pretty. All right, so there's that. And you can see what I mean about the wood edge. How, there we go, how you can see the wood texture there. So you would definitely want to sand that down first. I did not do that. I was doing a whole lot of things and there was gilding all over my floor.
It's so thin, it's going to pick up
Yes.
the texture and anything. So thin.
Now this is actually an experiment. It worked, but I wouldn't do it again. This was glass bead gel. It was actually applied with a palette knife, but applied very thinly because I wanted to see how well the metal would actually kind of fall down into the cracks. Some of the stuff I put with scraps, I took some of the scraps of some of the variegated colors to put in there just to see how that would work with little scrap pieces. And it's cool, but I don't know what I would do with it other than it looks kind of like, remember when there was the fad of the nugget jewelry? That's what it reminded me of. It was like, I made a big nugget jewelry.
Like the drusies.
But if that's what they were called, I don't know. It was just like big nugget rings and stuff that were ugly. Yes, ma'am.
Is sealing the gold leafing the same with a 24 karat gold as it is with...
You're going to seal it all the same. It's the composite or the gold. Now, the gold you don't have to, but I would say do it for the protection of just rubbing and stuff like that. It will help give it some measure of kind of a protectant in between it, right?
Can you gild over watercolors?
As long as the adhesive will stick to them, yes, you could. You can do it on paper. You can do it on all sorts of stuff.
So theoretically, as long as it's completely dry.
And it's a water-based,
Yeah.
yes. All right, so I have applied some sizing on just a small part of this piece. So, what do you think? Copper? Do we need copper, guys? Copper, yes?
Copper.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Katie wasn't ringing in on that. Copper!
You already knew my answer.
Oh, okay.
I was having a mental debate between the copper and that moon gold.
Me
Oh,
too.
yeah, yeah.
That's why I didn't answer.
We could do the moon gold so they can
I
see
think
how
the copper
delicate
will
the
look
sheet
better on
is.
the painting, though.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think the copper will look
I
better
do
on the painting.
All
I
right.
was debating on whether or not, like, my love for the moon gold versus
Yes.
what the painting
That's
deserves.
exactly what my
Okay.
dilemma was.
Now, so I already put the sizing on this earlier, guys, because clearly it takes 30 minutes to an hour. It's been on for a little over an hour, so we'll see how this does.
Where exactly did you put the sizing?
I'm not telling. We're just going to see.
You're gonna watch the magic
It's a
happen.
sizing surprise.
Hopefully it didn't get too dry.
A size prize.
Oh, now come on.
Need some of my static.
No, it's going to... I'm surprised it's not... Oh, there we go. Oh, come on, come on. Come on, girl. What?
I think the copper's a little heavier.
Yes. I'm going to do this so it's up. It might be that they're static on the table itself.
Yeah. I feel like the copper is a little, like, last time I used it was a little less movie-aroundy, which is obviously a technical term.
Yeah. Trying to
Clearly.
Like the ceiling
Okay,
fan
I'm going to
didn't
cheat. No, I'm
bother
not.
it as much as it did
Yes.
the other ones.
I'm going to cheat. Pull
I
this
think
aside.
copper's a heavier metal in general.
All right.
You ripped it! Oh no!
That's perfectly okay. This is where it's perfect to have.
As it was in one.
Yes. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, not unframing it was not something I thought about until just now when the metal fell down in it. Not like I won't be able to get it out of there, but it's like, oh man.
So pretty.
Okay, so this has been kind of put on there and really burnished in, so you can start seeing kind of where that edge was. Pull off the excess here. Oh no! came off of the thing because I was being too rough. All right, so see, you want to do that very delicately. And it may be because this was on gouache that the sizing soaked in, actually. I don't think that this was ever sealed with a varnish, so probably if you're doing it on something that's a very absorbent surface like gouache, you would definitely want to, let's see if we can't.
Well, and the adhesive will dry. There's a sweet spot you're trying to hit.
Yes.
You need it tacky, but not baby.
Let's see if it'll. There we go. That just, the little flakes and extra pieces just fix that in there. So it was just more the, I might not have had it brushed down all the way, and you might need to be a little more gentle taking it around the edge of something than going for speed. Ooh, that's really pretty. And fun. What do you think?
It's so shiny.
Yeah, that got all the edges. It filled it all in. See the shine? Isn't that cool? So you could do that on a painting just for a specific part if you wanted. You could have a portrait of someone and size the entire background and just gild around them. Just paint that adhesive on very gently on the edge with a 2-hair brush if you need to. Obviously you've got an open window time, but you can see that that went around on it. Cool. All right. So let's put that back there. All right. Putting these over here. All right. So then we've got, I just tried a little bit of just some adhesive kind of dripped on here to see how this would turn out.
I'm gonna go overhead on this one for you.
Yeah. Which color, ladies?
Moon gold.
Mango.
Okay.
I was gonna go silver.
Well, moon gold's pretty silvery, so I think that will probably work fine. It's kind of a whiter gold color.
It's a silver gold. It's beautiful is what it is.
It's that palladium.
Yeah. I love it.
Heard.
Some of it. It's German too, so it's fancy.
Being German doesn't. Words, man, they're not working today.
Okay, I'm just trying to flip this without. I'm so worried it's gonna come like jumping out at me. All right.
It will.
All right, so I'm going really slow.
Hold your breath.
Oh yeah,
Don't sneeze.
no kidding. Okay. Okay, see how easy that's picking up? Okay, I'm just going to take sheets and put them on here at random, and then we're going to varnish it off. Yeah. And that is the technical term. I know this looks really messy with it just kind of thrown on there, but it's okay.
Is there like an optimal side to use facing up, or is it the same on both sides?
I think it doesn't matter. It seems like it's the same either way because it's just a beaten sheet. It's not like a canvas
No
that's been
backing or
primed.
anything? Right.
Obviously, if it was the kind where it had that backing with the tissue backing, you would need to use the right. That where it has a thin tissue, but we're using the leaf.
Also, this is gonna be a weird question, but can you eat it? Like,
We already had this discussion.
Yes.
Can you use it in like cakes or cookies or whatever?
I think the stuff is the same as long as it's the pure the pure gold, right?
We decided that it probably would be okay as long as it's the pure gold. However, to be on the safe side, you would probably want to get gold leaf that's made to be edible.
From the nut.
Just because of concerning what the different
Storage
way that it's
conditions.
storage conditions and what it's been put in and the manufacturing, like what the plant was like while they were making it, that type of thing. But technically, as long as it is the 24 karat gold stuff. But better safe than sorry.
Should go with the edible.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did have that discussion before the show.
Yes.
Well, I saw this brilliant cake where they like did one of the drips around the top and they gilded all the drips and it was so beautiful.
Could you melt or iron the scraps back together?
No, they are literally thinner than tissue paper. They're, I mean, I don't even know how fine these are, Katie. They're so, right? I mean, it's just.
They're probably thinner than like a hair.
Yes.
They're very thin.
They're ridiculously thin. There would be no ironing anything back. You're just gonna have to use them as little scraps, which is fine. Like here, there's some stuff right here on this edge where nothing is stuck to the glue. I'm just gonna pat some scrap down, and that's gonna fill it in. You can take, in looking through the book and through some of the pictures and through some of the pictures of people doing frames, they're taking just little scraps and like pressing them in, and that works fine.
Do you know if the tissue that the leafing is in between is archival?
This isn't something where that's not.
She's thinking of using the tissue for collage.
Oh, okay. So somebody asked if the tissue in between the sheets is archival. That would be something where maybe you could contact the manufacturer, but I would assume that it's probably not archival because this isn't paint and stuff that's going to, and this is airtight in the package, so it's not going to start, having problems with tarnishing or anything like that. Okay, see how this little drips? Now the edges of this on the adhesive clear up a lot easier with this real metal, Katie. Guys, I see it coming up really super easy compared to the composite ones are thicker too. Where this, probably because gold is so much more malleable, they can make this a little bit thinner, and they want to make it thinner just for price. But look at how easy that, you can see there's like this gloppy area. Look how easy that cleans up with just this soft brush. Cleans right up to the edge. All I did was took the panel, turned it on its side, and I dripped down the adhesive on it to make it thin, because I was going to try to do spatters. You can see a few spatters, but it didn't. The brush I was using was not a spattery kind of a brush. So you could probably use something a little more like a mop like this and then whack it and it would spatter. But I was trying to do this real quick before the show so we'd have plenty of time to do the gilding. You can see I had some adhesive on my hand. There's a little bit there. See, there's little bits to get off.
They remind me of birch trees.
That's exactly what I thought. Look at that moon gold that's on a deep ultramarine acrylic background. Isn't that pretty?
Oh, please.
Oh,
There it is.
sorry. I forget I can see the back of the camera. Isn't that neat? So it's just drips that then have been gilded. So think of what you could do with, like, if you really like doing abstract art, think of the application of where you could do splatters and stuff like this on top of your painting, or even just do little bits here and there and then gild it and give it some really neat pop.
It'd be so pretty.
Rather than metallic paints where you have to really either layer them extra or whatever. That's just really cool.
I never fully get that
Yes.
glow. It'd be so pretty if you were doing like a transparent
Yes.
something over top of it. It would just make whatever you're painting glow.
All right, so this last one, I've taken some clear, just acrylic gel, a heavy gel, and painted it on. If you can see that. Yeah, you can see it. It's over a cadmium red background because I wanted that red to show through. If that for some reason kind of, you know, the leaf didn't attach right away. So I say we just take a whole bunch of scraps and pieces and put it on and then buff it out. What do you think? Should we use some of this just since it's kind of here? Put those on and then we'll burnish the other stuff around it. So where these little ones are, they'll stick and then, all right. All right, let's do this and then do some variegated. What do you think? Does that
Yes.
sound?
Yay!
All right. I know I'm gonna do it with a couple different ones. I've got the blue. What do you guys want? The blue and the red?
I'd like to see the red on it.
Okay. The red on it with the red.
The red with the red.
Okay, let's do that, and then let's take a gold as well, and we'll put a little bit of gold edging or something. What do you think? Just plain gold edging. We'll do some of. Oh, I guess I got some of this other gold right over here anyway. Okay. So, is everybody excited to see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have questions while I'm getting this all prepped? Any of the viewers?
Nope.
Think
We're all
crazy?
drooling over the shiny.
If you were gonna do like one single letter though, you could probably use the pen much easier.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, and then do it just
Or just use, you know, a really fine, like a, you know, natural hair brush or even a super fine watercolor, you know, or liner brush.
Mm-hmm. Would the gilding brush pick that junk off the table?
No, it might a little bit, but the thing is you don't want this to get in the adhesive
Oh, true.
because
It
then this is
wouldn't
going to
come
stick
out.
to your
Yeah.
stuff and not. I'm going to actually take this little bit and tear it off at the back. So I want to. All right, then I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm playing. This is so pretty. Ah, stick. Not to me. Stuck to me. All right. So now we'll just kind of put the gold wherever this wasn't sticky. All right. So we got that. I love how messy this looks. When you're like at this point, it's just like, God, that's just hideous. But then when you buff it out, huh?
It's not.
Yes, it is. And then when you
But
buff it out, it looks like a weird, like some sort of crazy abstract stuff.
It's like a butterfly coming out of its cocoon.
It's like Bauhaus meets psychedelic 70s or something. Okay. Ooh. Okay, open the next sheet. That would be easier. You can see how this seems like it's just really could be addictive because it's like each time you make one, you're like, yay!
Oh, that was the problem I had when I was doing the pumpkins and stuff in Halloween. As I sat in the living room, it went from I need to gild the pumpkins to what else in here can I put this on?
Yeah, ask Katie what the craziest thing she's ever gilded was. Katie, what was it?
My Alexa is very shiny now.
She gilded her. Which cracks me up. That's so funny.
I'm
All
a
right.
copper Alexa.
Oops. Where did my book go? Oh, that's fine. I'll figure it out. Okay. All right. Ready? Are we ready? Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now see, as this comes off, because there was red under here. See how it flakes off, and as you burnish, it leaves actually kind of a smooth side. Plus, with this, we're getting the texture of the paste that we put underneath it.
This is one of those like oddly satisfying things.
Yes, very much so. You can see, look at all the cool crumbs. The copper just popped up. There's a little bit of sizing, so I'm going to pounce some of that down to kind of fill it. Oh, that's so cool with the little bits of copper and the moon gold peeking through that were just little crumbly scraps. Look at that. They flattened.
So bright.
Look how they flattened out with pressure from the, like you can see little bits. Okay, now due to this texture, I'm going to come back through with the stiffer brush and kind of just make sure that all the little areas are filled. Any other questions? I know we're getting to the end of the show here, but I'm going to finish this while I'm waiting for... Are you sad that the shiny has come to an end, Amanda?
A little bit.
I actually have a question for Katie.
Uh-oh.
How did you seal the gilded Alexa?
Or did you?
It's not sealed. It hasn't tarnished.
Did you use gold?
I used copper,
Oh, okay, okay.
and it has not affected the... So I just did the, like, hard plastic part of it, not the speaker part of it,
Mm.
and used the adhesive, and it has stayed.
That's awesome.
I kind of just went, I wonder how long this will stay like this, and it's been...
How long was
What,
it?
it was
you
when we
did?
did the
Pumpkin, so
pumpkins, so September, because it was before.
yeah, yeah.
One of our viewers misheard you and thought that you said you gilded your Lexus.
Oh, gotcha.
I think I'd pay to see
I
that.
have a Lexus to
I
go.
have a Lexus to go.
That's
Maybe we can
just
go.
hilarious.
Anyway,
I say push for.
could you imagine that thing? Be blinded driving down
Yeah.
the street.
You know, fire trucks and stuff. A lot of the we're gonna have somebody on the show that does gilding on fire trucks, that hand gilds the lettering and all that. But they were just too busy with their schedule to be able to come on to show us. But they do that, and it is permanent.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's not that it can't be done.
I definitely could have sealed it, but I kind of went on the, I wonder what'll happen if I just...
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what's
Yeah.
the worst that can happen? You then seal it
Mm-hmm.
or go back over it. And all right, so I can see a little bit of red in some places, but it works really well with this. All right, so now we need to get the edge cleaned up.
A lot of people have been mentioning the waste that's involved, but you've already said that you keep a Ziploc.
Yes, and you can put the extra somewhere, and you can actually if you take the sheets out between the two pieces, if it's not something really fragile, you could even cut them closer to size. But you can keep the scraps and then do something cool like this. I mean, look how cool that is. It's got 3 different metals, well, 4, because we used some composite of the copper scraps that you can see in there. See how you can see the copper in different places? It's got some of that moon gold, which is this kind of more silvery in here. It's got some of the just composite gold, and then it's got our red variegated. So I mean, that's kind of cool. That's kind of almost a, there we go.
Could you put encaustic wax over the leafing?
You could, as long as you seal that first. Now, the problem that I would say about the encaustic is that you've got to fuse encaustics with things, right? And your first layers of encaustics, you need to fuse with an absorbent gesso specifically designed for that. That may be a problem, because if you're putting that MS varnish on it, the MSA varnish, then you might have a problem with heat and all that. So would the bond be enough where it might not come off? That would be the problem. I don't know what to tell you. That would be something where you'd probably need to make some small ones on some tiles like this, you know, some of these little pieces, and experiment and do it in definitely a well ventilated area if you're going to be kind of heating up that varnish. But it's not to say it's not possible, but would it bond really well, you know? Yep. All right, so does everybody feel like they maybe want to try something cool like this? That this could really be incorporated in fine art, other than just doing frames or things like that, right?
A lot
So
of the YouTube viewers mentioned that they or their friends use the pen
yeah,
and use that for Christmas cards and things like that.
nice. So yeah, lots of cool applications. Well, all right, guys. I think that this is all of the demo that we had, and hopefully you've learned something and seen all sorts of cool, fun stuff you might like to give a try, or even go in. This would be a fun girls' night.
It would
Go
be,
in with your friends. Everybody buy a sheet of composite leaf. The little jars of adhesive are super cheap. Use whatever brushes you've got on hand, or even like a foam roller would work. And go to town. Super cheap girls' night. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us.